Hi all my scrappy friends, it's Stacy over at TotallyTwistedCards.com. I'm super excited today because I am the guest designer over at Peachy King Stamps at peachykingstamps.blogspot.com. So starting today, Monday, November the 7th, and running through Friday, November the 11th, 2011, I will be featuring a new project each day using Peachy King Stamps. So if you're new to Peachy King Stamps, they are one of my most favorite stamps, and they have different kinds of stamps. They have their face stamps, which as you can see I've become addicted to, and that's when I first started using Peachy King Stamps, but they're awesome. They have all kinds of faces. And then they also have image stamps, as you can see right here. I've just recently started to use Copics and color with Copics, so I'll be getting a lot more of these in the future. Then they also have some dies on their site too. So head on over to peachykingstamps.blogspot.com to learn more about Peachy King Stamps. Now, if you're new to my site, I started scrapping several years ago, but I probably did it opposite of what most people do. I started out scrapping, digitally scrapping on my computer, and then found the love for paper scrapbooking. So I do mostly still digital scrapbook my photos and my photo albums, and then I love to create paper craft projects as well as homemade paper cards. So one of the other things that Peachy King is allowing me to do during my guest designer week is to give away a set of their wonderful stamps. So make sure you stay tuned to the Peachy King Stamps.blogspot.com website, as well as my website, my blog at TotallyTwistedCards.com, to learn how you can enter each day to win one of their sets. So, enough about me and about Peachy King. Let's get on to what we're going to create today. So we're going to create this card using one of Peachy King's stamps. And the card that I used, or the stamp that I used, was Peachy King PK303A, which is the Tubular Star Snowman Small. So, let's get all of our supplies together and I'll show how to create this card. So we are using the Peachy King stamp PK303A, which is this super cute snowman on a tube. So I already have that on the back of one of my acrylic blocks, and I'm going to ink that up with some Memento Tuxedo Black ink. And I'm no expert with Copic coloring. I've been watching Arlene from My Butterfly Kisses as much as I can, trying to pick up some coloring skills off of her. But you want to use certain inks with your Copic markers so that the markers don't bleed in with the ink. And Memento ink is one of the ones that you can use. I know that Stays On ink, you're not to use Stays On ink, it will destroy your Copic markers. So, but I'll just give this a good coating. And then I'm going to stamp that on some white cardstock. Now again, there are cardstocks that are better for Copic coloring than others, and since I'm not an expert, I'm not going to get into any of that. But use what you like, and you really don't have to press hard because these stamps are awesome. And then there's our image. So I'm going to set this aside, and I'll clean it a little bit later. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to color in our snowman, as you can see on the card. And I'm sticking with blue and gold as my main colors because I really like the blue for Christmas. So for the tube, I'm going to use Black 100 and Coal Gray C35. Now, I wish I had darker gray Copics to color this with, but I don't. I've been getting these from my local craft store, and they're all sold out of the darker grays, and they haven't gotten them in, so I might have to resort to ordering these online because I can't find them. So the technique that I'm going to be using is a tip-to-tip technique once I get to the end over here to try and shade that out to a darker gray. So those are the two colors I'm going to use for that, for the tube. And then for the clothing on the snowman, the hat and some of the trim and the mittens, I'm using these three colors, which are B21, B24, and B32. So that'll get me the shading on those items. And then for the snowman itself, I am using these. The YR04 will be for the nose, and then R20 is for the cheeks, and then I have C1 for the snowman's color, shading on the snowman, as well as 0, which is the colorless blender to blend that all in. And then I'll fill in the snowman's ruffle around his hat as well as his shirt with one of these Jelly Roll glitter pens. This is the first that I've been using one of these, and was just kind of using it as an alternative to actually the Tim Holtz stickles. If you want to use the Tim Holtz stickles, go right ahead. It takes some time to dry though, whereas this will not take quite as long to dry, which is why I'm giving it a try this time around. So I'm going to go ahead and color this up, and we'll most likely put this on fast forward to speed through it a little bit. I know I said I was going to fast forward that so you guys could see me Copic color, but I figured out rather quickly that I cannot Copic color on camera, for I need to get my face pretty close to the picture in order to not go outside of the lines. So I apologize for not fast forwarding that, but here is the image colored. I'm going to go ahead and fussy cut around the image, and then I'll also just ink up the very edges of the image with this Tim Holtz Weathered Wood, which is like a gray color ink, just to bring out the edges a little more. Then I'll be back. So there is our little snow guy. Isn't he so cute? I fussy cut him out and then went ahead and inked the edges. If you notice, I did cut his tassel out. That's because we will be putting some fluff there instead of having that tassel on the end of it. So the next thing we want to do is actually create this label piece on the card. So to do that, I'm going to use my Cuttlebug, because that's what I have, and a Nestabilities die. We're going to start with our A plate, and then I'm going to lay down my B plate, which is the one I use for cutting, and this is my preference, but I like to lay my paper down next, and then I lay the die side down on top of that. Some people like to do it the other way. I think that's a matter of personal preference. The die that I'm using, again, is a Nestabilities die. It is labels number 9, and I am using the biggest one off the back of that die set. So there's our background all inked up. Next we're going to want to start to assemble the card. So what I have is, this is a piece of silver metallic Recollections paper. It was 8.5 by 11. I cut it on the 11 side to 5.5, and then I folded it in half. That gives me my A2 portrait size card. And then I took a piece of glittery cardstock paper from DCWV's Winter Combo Stack, and I cut that so that there was an 1/8 of an inch border around all of that, and that comes out to 4 by 5.25. So next I'm going to round all the corners of this, and I'm just using my Zutter corner rounder, but if you have some other corner rounder, you can use that too. But first what I want to do is I want to run some ribbon around the edges of this, just like you would with twine. I thought, well, it'd be kind of neat to wrap it around with some ribbon. So I had this ribbon that matches, and it's just a spool of ribbon. I think I got it from Walmart, pretty cheap, but this is the length that I cut it to. And what I do, my method of doing this, is I run adhesive down both sides, and I'm using my ATG. You can use whatever it is you have along the back of that, and that just gives me a good starting point, a moving point too, for when I put this around the ribbon around it. Some people use the tape method, which is fine, but I have a hard time getting the tape back up once it's on, and this is actually allows me to reposition it a little bit. So I'll just wrap this around as I like, and tucking it with the adhesive on the back, putting it to where I like it. And then when I'm happy with it, I'll cut off any extras that I may have. This, and I just go right over top of the ribbon. Not a problem to do that. And then I'll go one down the middle too, just to give that ribbon some extra stability. And then this will get centered on the card. So that there's about a quarter or an eighth of an inch the whole way around. Now I'll need to pop dot this guy and pop dot this guy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a single pop dot on that, and this is just, see if I have an unopened one. I get these from Big Lots, so like $2 for a whole big roll of this foam mounting tape, which is actually acid free too. So we'll go ahead and get this one on our card. Just need to center it. And then we'll center him so we can still see the snowflakes. Okay, so next I want to stamp the sentiment on here, and I'm going to use that same Tuxedo Black Memento ink. And I found a Let It Snow stamp from Joann's, and I'm just going to ink this up, and I'm going to put it on the silver side. I'm just going to stamp it in the middle here. And then I'm just going to trim it up a little. It's so small, I'm just going to use my scissors. You could use your paper trimmer if you wanted to. So I'm going to trim up the bottom a little bit. And then the sides just a little bit here, because I actually want to stamp a little bit, or cut a little bit out of the side, so I need to make sure I leave a little bit of room. So there's that, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my 1-inch circle punch, and this just happens to be EK Success, and I'm going to put this in here, and I want to make a little rounded edge off of each side, each of the two sides. Again, it's just to give it a little extra something so it doesn't look so square. I'm just going to do my best to line that up in there. Kind of gives it almost a ticket look, but not quite. I have a ticket punch. If I did, I'd probably wind up doing that instead. So there we go. And then again, since I like to ink everything up, I'm going to use the Tim Holtz Weathered Wood once again. Again, make sure you have non-sticky scissors. And this will have, I want to set this like this right here. So what I'm going to have to do is pop dot the end of this. And then I'm just going to run adhesive and my ATG on the top of it because that can be flush at the top of it. And then we'll tuck this right under here, kind of on an angle, how we like it. And then there, it's flush with that. So there is that. And then what I need to do next is I like to put some gems on here. So I have these Recollection gems, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off the sides here, and I'm going to use those as some additional embellishment to my card. What I like to do when I'm using a stamp is I like to stamp in the corner a stamp not colored of whatever it is that I used on the front. So I'm going to use my Peachy King stamp once again, but this time I'm only going to ink up part of it because I don't want it to take up too much room. I'll take my black Memento ink once again, and I'll just ink up the snowman part of this and try not to get the tube part of it. And then I need to glue down some fluff to the top of that for the top of his hat. And what I like to use is Glossy Accents. Again, there are other products that you can use. Along with, I have part of that double foam because I've got to get it up high because this was double thick tape on it, so I need to get this up double thickness too. So I'll just lay a little piece of this double thick right under here. Kind of gives stability to the top of the hat. And then I have this fur trim that you can get at your craft store. Just cut a little piece off the end of it, and the fluff goes everywhere. And then I use the Glossy Accents as my adhesive, and I just lay some down. And then I take my piece of the fluff that I cut off, and I kind of just bunch it up and hold it there until it starts to adhere. And that will give me the fluff on the hat, as well as fluff all over my desk space. So that'll take a little time to glue down. It doesn't take too awful long. But there you have it, my first project for the week, which is the Let It Snow snowman. There's the one I made earlier, and there's the one I just made now as part of my holiday Christmas cards to be giving out. So I hope you enjoyed this. Again, stay tuned all week, November 7 through November 11. Check out my project of the day, and then leave a comment on both Peachy King stamps.blogspot.com as well as totallytwistedcards.com for a chance to win some Peachy King stamps. So thanks again for tuning in. I will see everyone tomorrow. Thanks.